When it comes to watching shows, everyone has their own preferences. Some people enjoy mysteries, while others love romance. Or people like to watch thrillers, or maybe even comedies. But I would argue that the greatest show of all time, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, includes aspects of all of these genres. Quite simply, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a masterclass of television. So why is Brooklyn Nine-Nine such a great show, you may ask? Let me give you a few reasons as to why. First of all, it actively works against stereotypes, which helps it deliver quality storylines and character progression. Also, it's built on lovable but flawed characters that are deeply emotional and connected to one another. They have hilarious and deep relationships that mirror what we want to achieve in our own lives. Lastly, but not least, this show is a humor goldmine, with direct and indirect jokes that have me laughing out loud literally every episode. So let's get into these four reasons in detail and look back on some of my favorite moments from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Part 1: Deconstructing Stereotypes. First, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a masterclass of television because of the bold, yet also funny, way that it defies stereotypes. It unfolds racial, gender, and sexuality stereotypes while delivering performances that makes us understand the depth of each person that goes beyond their labels. For one, Brooklyn Nine-Nine shows us that women are strong and capable of handling mental challenges as detectives and physical fights and chases. In addition, it shows that there are many different types of women, but none is better than the other. Brooklyn Nine-Nine has women detectives that are emotional and women detectives that are detached. Some of them are book smart, and others are more street smart. In case you couldn't tell, I'm specifically talking about detectives Amy Santiago and Rosa Diaz. Amy Santiago is a type A rule follower who always follows her books and her binders. She's in tune with her emotions and doesn't mind expressing them once in a while. Meanwhile, Rosa Diaz is a leather jacket wearing, intimidating woman who makes other people afraid to mess with her. She almost never showcases her stress or any other vulnerable emotions. But she does break down in front of people that she really trusts. Both of these women are extremely intelligent and good at their jobs, which makes them great role models. Amy Santiago chases down a suspect down a New York street while wearing an entire wedding dress, showing her physical speed and capability. Rosa Diaz showcases her speed, strength, and agility time and time again throughout the show. Although there are so many examples of strong women in media, no show does it as good as Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I want to add a note to this being that Brooklyn Nine-Nine does an even better job of defying stereotypes considering that Amy and Rosa are both Latinas. Usually, Latino women are stereotyped as quote unquote spicy, and they are over sexualized. However, Brooklyn Nine-Nine steps away from this approach and we get to see Amy and Rosa as real people. In addition, this show defies stereotypes placed on men. Detectives Charles Boyle and Jake Peralta are both men who don't live up to society's rigid enforcement of gender stereotypes. For one, Charles is in touch with his emotions and never shies away from expressing his friendly love to Jake. Also, Charles does not shy away from his love for things that some people consider feminine, such as detailed food knowledge, appreciation of theater, and fashion. And Jake is openly a feminist and he looks up to women as role models throughout the show. Charles and Jake have a friendship that is emotionally deep, and both of them support each other through their highs and lows. They give each other real advice and try to correct the other when they're doing something that doesn't best align with their life. Even more specifically, Brooklyn Nine-Nine does a great job of defying stereotypes related to black men. Sergeant Terrence Jeffords, Terry Jeffords, is an extremely strong and muscular black man, but he is really in touch with his emotions and devoted to his family. He often talks about his experiences going to therapy and the duties he manages as a member of his household. Also, Captain Raymond Holt is a black man who's openly gay, while also being a stoic man with a hidden heart of emotion and affection. I want to add that Brooklyn Nine-Nine does a great job of showing these multifaceted, layered characters. They show, rather than tell us, about how complex all of these characters are, and how they cannot be reduced down to their gender, race, or sexuality. Part 2: Realistic characters that are lovable but flawed. In movies and television, writers have to dance a fine line to make characters realistic. They have to be someone who we as an audience root for, but they can't be perfect. This can be difficult because it's hard to make characters that repeatedly make mistakes while also grow. However, Brooklyn Nine-Nine does a great job in forming characters that are exactly like people I would root for, but also get annoyed at occasionally. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Gina, Amy, and Jake. Gina Linetti is the secretary of the Brooklyn Nine-Nine Police Department. She's not a detective, but she plays a key role in helping the detectives and Captain Holt. Her lively attitude and jokes keep the office alive, but she's also a beacon of unexpected wisdom. Let me explain the depth of her character. When we're first introduced to Gina, she seems like someone who's overly self conceited and narcissistic. We could assume that she thinks she's the best, and that she doesn't care about what anyone else thinks. She's quick to make snide comments and diss other people, all while hyping herself up. But this is just a facade of Gina's character. Underneath her cool and unaffected demeanor lies a person who deeply cares about her friends. Even though she makes fun of Charles and doesn't always listen to him, she protects him from the scary detective Adrian Pimento. And even though she makes fun of Amy a lot and even pretends to forget her name, Gina reminds Amy that she should always be herself and that Amy doesn't need to change for anybody's approval. I already mentioned Amy earlier, but she's also a great example of a lovable but flawed character. Amy is your run of the mill perfectionist who strives to be the best at what she does. This is somewhat of a good trait because it powers her intelligence and ambition, which makes her a lovable character. We also get to see her funny side with Jake and her caring nature for people in the 9-9. But we also see her less perfect side, which comes out during conversations with her quote unquote perfect older brother. We see that Amy has a lot of jealousy and frustration when it comes to her older brother stealing the spotlight. While her anger is warranted, she doesn't exactly do the work to be a less affected person. It takes her time and growth to stop comparing herself to her brother as much, which contributes to her complexity. Amy is an amazing character, but she isn't perfect. But that's what makes her interesting. Although every character is extremely lovable but flawed, the last person I'm going to talk about in this section is Jake Peralta. He seems to have it all on paper. He's intelligent, well liked, hilarious, and also seems to be one of the 9-9's best detectives. But, as Terry put it, he never learned how to grow up. Especially in the beginning of the show, we see Jake as a smart but oblivious guy who's not used to thinking things through. He can be pretty impulsive and childish, which makes him a funny character, but also someone that we occasionally sigh and roll our eyes at. Yet over the show, he grows into a more mature person that can still joke around. He learns to be more responsible in his career, be a better partner to Amy, and he eventually gives up working at the 9-9 to be the good father that he never had. Simply put, Jake realizes that there's more to life than joking around and chasing bad guys. He's someone that we love and root for, and are glad to see him grow up over the course of the show. Part 3: Wholesome but also realistic relationships. One thing that I find really valuable about Brooklyn Nine-Nine is that there's a large focus on the power of friendships between women. Women struggle a lot with friendships even if they're emotionally supportive, because society often pits women against each other. This leaves women feeling as if they're in secret competition with each other. Rosa and Amy undergo a similar situation in their friendship. Amy openly tells Rosa that she feels intimidated by her, and that Amy always had to compete for a spot at the table. But Rosa tells her that as women they have to stick together and support each other. And we see their friendship unfold beautifully as the show progresses. They support each other in cases and eventually catch Sergio Mindar together. Also, Amy helps Rosa admit that she can ask for help. Meanwhile, Rosa reminds Amy that she's allowed to enjoy feminine things, such as wedding dress shopping, while also being a strong leader. Next, I couldn't forget talking about Doug, Judy, and Jake. In case you didn't know, Doug Judy is a Pontiac bandit, and Jake almost caught him multiple times. Yet, Doug Judy always escapes, leaving Jake heartbroken. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a masterclass of a show because it develops a strong and funny relationship between the cop and the robber. Doug, Judy, and Jake have witty banter together and even sing karaoke together. Jake saves Doug's life multiple times, and Doug returns diamonds that he stole just so that Jake wouldn't get in too much trouble. The last main relationship I'll be talking about today is between Captain Holt and Kevin. Their relationship is endearing but also funny at the same time. They're both extremely deadpan and serious in most of their conversations, which conflicts between the love and affection that they show each other. For example, they shake hands at work, but Captain Holt considers this to be excessive PDA. Another example is when Kevin says, "You'll have to excuse me," and Captain Holt sees this as outrageous. He tells Jake, "I'm sorry you had to witness such a terrible fight." Their love is displayed unusually, but you can really tell how much they care about each other. My favorite moment between Captain and Kevin occurs when Kevin drives through a warehouse to save Captain Holt and Jake, even though Jake told him to get away. Kevin puts his life on the line to save his husband, even though they were in a disagreement at the time. Part 4. Direct and indirect jokes packed into every episode. What would Brooklyn Nine-Nine be without its cold opens? In case you don't know what a cold open is, it's essentially a short skit that starts every episode. It can be something entirely random, like Jake forcing suspects in a lineup to sing "I Want It That Way." Or it could be Holt breaking into Jake and Amy's bedroom to start the day of a Halloween heist. These cold opens are gold mines of humor that inject playful energy into the start of every episode. We get to see the characters crack jokes and follow situations that we only wish could happen in our own offices, like using the freshly waxed floors to slide across and complete a quote-unquote full bullpen. In addition, there are key catchphrases in Brooklyn Nine-Nine that make the show so iconic. Not only are the phrases themselves funny, but the characters and context make them even better. Of course, my favorite one has to be "cool, cool, 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 no doubt, no doubt, no doubt." Honestly, Andy Samberg is hilarious overall, and he just plays the role of Jake to perfection. I also love when Jake and Amy refer to their wedding as "toy nups," because that's honestly just iconic. Even though Amy's more serious than Jake, their humor is very similar. And how could I forget Jake's constant catchphrase in which he always says, "Title of your sex tape." Honestly, it beats "That's what she said" every time. And lastly, how can I forget the squad yelling, "Nine-Nine"? The last main form of humor that I'll go over is the witty banter between characters. As I mentioned earlier, the relationships between characters is key to Brooklyn Nine-Nine's charm. We can't forget the slow burn of Jake and Amy from before they started dating. One of my favorite moments between them is when Jake pretends that he's pregnant with Amy's baby. Also, Gina's one-liners and comebacks to everyone in the show is legendary. For example, she says, "New phone, who this?" when she's talking to Charles in person. And whether you love Gina or hate her, you have to admit that it's pretty iconic. Overall, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a masterclass of television for many reasons. It boldly defies gender, race, and sexuality stereotypes, making for television that both goes against the grain and provides a fresh perspective. It has characters that we root for and love, while also recognizing that they are far from perfect. One of the most rewarding parts of Brooklyn Nine-Nine is watching the characters grow and become people that we can be proud of. In addition, this show portrays emotionally fulfilling and humorous relationships between the precious characters. Last but not least, every episode is jam-packed with humor and fun that I find myself rewatching time and time again. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe. See you next time.